There comes a moment in life when you finally realize that not every battle needs your energy, not every insult deserves your reaction, and not every loud voice is worthy of your attention. The greatest people, the ones who move with purpose, with vision, with unstoppable drive, never let noise distract them from their direction. And that's the power I want you to step into today. Because when you know who you are, when you know what you stand for, you don't raise your voice, you raise your standards. You don't react to everything. You respond with intention. And that response? That's what silences the room. Not through intimidation, but through undeniable presence. Today, I'm going to give you 7 smart responses that don't just shut down negativity. They elevate you above it. Because you're not here to win arguments. You're here to win your life back from anything or anyone that tries to pull you off your path. Let's step into that power. Emotional discipline is one of the greatest forms of intelligence you can ever develop because it's the difference between reacting from impulse and responding from power. Most people move through life like emotional matchsticks. One spark, one comment, one disrespectful tone, and they ignite instantly. But the people who truly command respect have trained themselves to pause, to breathe, and to see the situation for what it really is before they speak. They understand that the first feeling isn't always the truth, and the first reaction isn't always the right one. When someone tries to provoke you, they're not testing your strength, they're testing your control. Anyone can shout, insult, or retaliate. That doesn't take strength, it takes zero effort. What takes real strength is holding your ground without losing your center. It's choosing clarity over chaos, choosing focus over frustration, and choosing to protect your energy even when your ego wants to jump into the fight. Emotional discipline doesn't make you passive. It makes you strategic. It allows you to see what another person is trying to pull you into, and instead of falling for it, you rise above it. When you respond from discipline, your words hit different. They're measured, intentional, and impossible to twist or use against you. You speak with a confidence that comes from self-respect, not from trying to impress or overpower anyone. And the more you master this, the more you'll notice people becoming unsure of how to challenge you because they can't predict you or provoke you. You become calm in situations where others panic, collected in moments where others crumble, and wise in conversations where others get emotional. That's why smart responses come from discipline. They come from someone who is in control of themselves before they try to control the moment. And when you control yourself, you automatically control the outcome. This discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It comes from catching yourself before you react, from reminding yourself that your peace is more valuable than being right, and from understanding that not every situation is deserving of your full emotional investment. Over time, you stop letting small things get a big reaction out of you. You stop giving people access to your triggers. You stop allowing the world to dictate how you feel. Instead, you respond from a place of strength, clarity, and purpose, and that response speaks louder than any argument ever could. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength because people often confuse louder voices with stronger minds. But confident people know that silence is not retreat, it is strategy. It is the moment where you choose to observe instead of react, to understand instead of explode, and to position yourself above the chaos instead of inside it. When you stay silent in the face of provocation, people assume you're out of moves, when in reality, you are simply choosing not to waste your brilliance on noise. Silence gives you space to think, and someone who thinks before they speak will always hold the advantage. It allows you to see people for who they really are, their intentions, their patterns, their emotional state, because when you're not talking, you can finally listen. You notice what they choose to reveal, where they contradict themselves, and what their real motives are. Silence exposes truth faster than arguments ever could. Confident people use silence because they understand that not every moment deserves their voice. They don't feel the need to defend their character to anyone who misunderstands them. They don't rush to correct someone who is committed to seeing them negatively. They don't fight battles that lead nowhere. Instead, they choose silence as a way to conserve their energy for places where their words actually matter. Silence also unnerves people who expect a reaction. When someone is trying to provoke you and you don't respond, it forces them to confront their own behavior. Suddenly, their power disappears because you didn't give them the reaction they wanted. They start questioning themselves, doubting their approach, and realizing that they cannot control you emotionally. Remaining silent isn't about avoiding confrontation. It's about controlling the direction of it. It allows you to respond on your terms, at your pace, from a place of clarity rather than emotion. Silence gives you the time to craft a response that is calm, intentional, and aligned with your values instead of rushed and fueled by impulse. It protects you from saying something you'll regret, from escalating a situation that doesn't need escalation, and from stepping in a trap set by people who thrive on drama. And the most powerful part is that silence teaches you self-respect. It teaches you that your peace is worth more than proving a point, that your energy shouldn't be spent on every argument, and that sometimes the smartest response is the one you never speak at all. The strongest response you can ever give is the one that lifts you above the argument instead of dragging you deeper into it. Because real power is not shown through confrontation, but through composure. Most people respond with the intention to win a moment, but truly wise people respond with the intention to win their future. They understand that reactions rooted in ego only create more conflict, while responses rooted in clarity create progress. When someone disrespects you, challenges you, or tries to pull you into negativity, you have two choices. You can lower yourself to their level, or you can rise to a level they cannot reach. The moment you choose elevation over retaliation, everything changes. You stop seeking validation from people who don't value you. You stop wasting energy on battles that don't matter. You stop giving people emotional access to you that they have not earned. Elevating your response means choosing words that reflect your character instead of your frustration. It means speaking in a way that shows you are in control of yourself, no matter how out of control the situation may feel. When you respond with composure, you show strength without aggression. You show confidence without arrogance. You show that you don't need to tear someone down to protect your dignity. This is what intimidates people the most. When they can't trigger you, can't shake you, can't break your calm. They realize you operate on a different frequency, one guided by purpose rather than emotion. This type of response also shifts the power dynamic instantly. When someone expects anger and receives calm, they lose their leverage. When they expect defensiveness and receive clarity, they lose their narrative. When they expect you to retaliate and you choose to rise, they lose the ability to control the situation. Elevating your response doesn't mean you stay quiet or allow disrespect. It means you respond with strength instead of volatility. You address what needs to be addressed, but with a tone that shows you value peace more than winning an argument. Over time, this way of communicating builds a reputation. People begin to see you as someone who can't be manipulated, someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who doesn't react impulsively. It earns you respect because the world respects people who stay grounded when everyone else is losing themselves. And the truth is, the higher you go in life, the more you will need this skill. You can't afford to let every comment, every criticism, or every negative person pull you backwards when your entire mission is to move forward. When you choose to elevate your response, you choose your growth over your pride, and that choice transforms everything around you. Control of your words is one of the clearest reflections of control over your life, because the way you speak shapes the way you think, the way people perceive you, and the opportunities that open or close in front of you. Most people speak without awareness, letting emotions lead their tongue and reactions guide their tone. But people who truly master themselves understand that every word carries weight. They don't speak to be loud. They speak to be understood. They don't talk to fill silence. They talk to create impact. When you learn to control your words, you stop living in a world of regret and start living in a world of intentional influence. You become someone whose presence is respected not because you demand it, but because your communication reflects clarity, confidence, and discipline. Words have the power to escalate a situation or dissolve it, to inspire someone or discourage them, to build bridges or burn them completely. That's why self-controlled people don't let temporary feelings produce permanent consequences. They understand that once words leave your mouth, you don't get them back. So instead of speaking from irritation, they speak from understanding. Instead of responding from anger, they respond from purpose. This doesn't make them soft. It makes them effective. It shows that their emotions don't control their direction. When someone tries to provoke them, they don't slip into reactive language or lose their composure. They choose their words in a way that protects their peace, maintains their dignity, and keeps the situation in their hands. And the more intentional you become with your words, the more you start noticing how powerful communication really is. You begin to see that people listen differently when you speak with steadiness. They take your message seriously because it's delivered from a place of thought, not tension. They trust your voice because it's consistent, not chaotic. They respect your perspective because you express it with confidence, not desperation. Controlling your words gives you presence, and presence is something people can feel even before you finish a sentence. This level of verbal control also strengthens your relationships. It prevents unnecessary conflicts, protects you from misunderstandings, and helps you navigate difficult moments with maturity. It allows you to express boundaries without hostility and speak truth without harming anyone. And most importantly, it reinforces to yourself that you are in charge of your inner world. Because when you can manage your words, it means you can manage your emotions. When you can manage your emotions, you can manage your choices. And when you can manage your choices, you can manage the direction of your entire life. True strength isn't shown in how loudly you respond, but in how clearly you choose your direction when chaos tries to pull you off track. When someone tries to provoke you, challenge you, or shake your confidence, the most powerful thing you can do is stay rooted in who you are instead of who they want you to become. People expect you to react emotionally, to get defensive, to snap back, to prove something. But when you refuse to play the role they assign you and instead respond from a place of grounded purpose, you instantly shift the entire dynamic. You show that your identity isn't shaped by conflict, and your character isn't determined by someone else's behavior. Choosing calm clarity over chaos isn't an act of weakness. It's an act of mastery. It reveals that you've reached a point where someone else's negativity can't reach you. When you operate with this mindset, you stop wasting your energy on battles that drain you. You begin protecting your mental space the same way you'd protect something valuable, because it is valuable. You learn that you don't have to fight every misunderstanding or explain yourself to every critic. People who are committed to misreading your intentions won't understand you even with a full explanation, and people who value you won't need one. So instead of using your energy to argue, you use it to build, to grow, to elevate your life. You stop reacting to negativity because you're too busy moving towards something meaningful. This is the moment your responses evolve. You start answering with intention, not impulse. You start carrying yourself with quiet authority, the kind that makes people rethink how they speak to you. Not because you threaten them, but because your energy demands respect. You no longer let petty comments, passive-aggressive remarks, or emotional traps pull you into situations that don't match your standards. You understand that your mission, your peace, and your future are too important to sacrifice for a temporary emotional victory. And the more you practice this, the more you realize that emotional discipline is the foundation of every major success you will ever create. Your mind becomes sharper, your relationships become healthier, and your goals become clearer. You're not just responding smarter, you're living smarter. You're building a version of yourself that can't be shaken by words, distracted by noise, or controlled by someone else's mood. And that is the kind of strength that silences anyone without you having to raise your voice, because your growth becomes louder than any argument they try to start with you. So if you found value in this message, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.